Hey guys, it's me, Cameron Bertuzzi, here with 3 strong arguments against moral subjectivism. So this view might be popular like online and in certain atheist circles, but ethicists have known that moral subjectivism actually faces some pretty serious issues. So let's start by just laying out what the view is. Individualist moral subjectivism, it's a mouthful, is the view that our moral claims are really just descriptions of our preferences. So for example, when someone says abortion is wrong, they're really just saying, I disapprove of abortion. And on this view, and this is really important, moral claims are still true or false. So if the description of the preference is accurate, like if they actually have that preference, then the moral claim is true. But the important part here is that moral claims are still true or false. Moral subjectivism is sometimes confused with a view called emotivism. Emotivism is the view that our moral claims just reduce to expressions of emotion. So when someone says abortion is wrong, they're really just expressing an emotion like abortion, boo! And so on this view, moral claims are not actually true or false. Just like if I said chocolate ice cream, yuck! Like that's not true or false, right? I'm just expressing an emotion in a language that you guys can understand. And since these two views are radically different, they require their own refutations. So if you're interested in a refutation of emotivism, then check out the blog post that I've posted in the description, 2 serious problems for emotivism. All right, so let's switch gears and turn now to the arguments against individualist moral subjectivism. The first argument is that moral subjectivism can't account for genuine moral disagreement. So it goes like this. Premise number 1. If moral subjectivism were true, then there would be no genuine moral disagreement. Premise number 2. There is genuine moral disagreement. The conclusion, therefore, moral subjectivism is not true. All right, so let's look a little closer at premise 1. If our moral claims are really just descriptions of our preferences, then there actually can't be any moral disagreement. So think about it like this. Joe says abortion is wrong, and Sally says abortion is right. So let's translate these moral claims. Joe is saying, I disapprove of abortion, and Sally is saying, I approve of abortion. But does Joe actually disagree with Sally? Actually, no. Joe would reason like this. I disapprove of abortion, and I agree that Sally approves of abortion. Likewise, Sally would say, I approve of abortion, and I agree that Joe disapproves. So on this view, as long as everyone is telling the truth, there actually isn't any disagreement. But this is all really, really strange, right? If you're pro-choice and you go into a debate with a pro-lifer, you're not going into this debate assuming that the two of you agree. Moral debate assumes disagreement, at least in principle. So if you think that you can coherently have moral debates with other people, then you have to agree that there does exist genuine moral disagreement. And from the first 2 premises, it follows that moral subjectivism is false. The second argument against moral subjectivism is that it would render all of our moral judgments literally infallible. So let's look at this argument. Premise number 4. If moral subjectivism were true, then all of our moral judgments would be infallible. Premise number 5, our moral judgments are not infallible, from which it follows the conclusion, therefore moral subjectivism is not true. So moral subjectivism implies that any moral claim that you make, any honest one, is true. Here's an analogy that might help. If I honestly report to you that my favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla, then I can't actually be wrong about that. I mean, it could be lying, but so long as I'm being honest, then I can't be wrong. So similarly, on moral subjectivism, if I honestly report to you that I disapprove of abortion, then I can't be wrong. This means that any honest moral claim that anyone makes is literally infallibly true. The obvious problem here is that it's extremely presumptuous to think that your beliefs about an entire area of discourse are literally infallibly true, especially about one as so nuanced and controversial as morality. Moreover, if everyone is literally infallible about morality, then atheists have to admit that every religious person's views ever have been infallibly correct. I'm going to let your mind wander on that one. And so it follows from premises 4 and 5 that moral subjectivism is not true. So let's turn to the third argument. This one says that moral subjectivism is incoherent. It goes like this. Premise number 7. If moral subjectivism were true, then there would be true contradictions. Premise number 8, there are no true contradictions. From there it follows, moral subjectivism is not true. So let's start first with the concept of a contradiction. Here's one. Cameron is a photographer and Cameron is not a photographer. That sentence actually contains an explicit contradiction, so it can't be true. I can't be a photographer and not a photographer at the same time. Okay, so the idea behind the third argument is that our preferences are not always rational. So for example, suppose that Frank thinks that it's always wrong to eat meat. But then suppose that Frank has other preferences that would make eating meat morally acceptable, like his desire not to starve to death. Combining these preferences together, we arrive at Frank never approves of eating meat, and Frank sometimes approves of eating meat. So here's where it gets really interesting. Remember that on moral subjectivism, our moral claims are true or false descriptions of our preferences. And so long as those descriptions are accurate, then the moral claim must be true. That's just what moral subjectivism is. So let's see what happens when we translate Frank's conflicting preferences into a moral claim. It is always wrong to eat meat, and it is not always wrong to eat meat. Moral subjectivism implies that this moral claim has to be true. Again, that's what the view is. However, this claim is obviously contradictory, and so it can't be true. Like, there's no possible world where this claim is true. This is a very, very serious problem. No human's moral preferences are perfectly rational. I mean, we all try to be like as rational as we can, but even professional philosophers have a difficult time weeding out little incoherencies in their beliefs. So unless we grant the really implausible premise that no one that's ever lived has had contradictory preferences about morality, then moral subjectivism implies that some contradictions are true. But since there obviously can't be any true contradictions, it follows that moral subjectivism is not true. Alright guys, that does it for this video on 3 strong arguments against moral subjectivism. If you've been enjoying our content that we've been presenting on our channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you can be alerted right when we post a new video. Just remember that it's really important not to conflate moral subjectivism with emotivism. So if you want to see my refutations of emotivism, check the link in the description. But other than that guys, it's been awesome. Let me know what you think about the content in this video, the 3 arguments. If you think they're terrible, please leave a comment, let me know, show me why I'm wrong about this. But anyways, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Oh, and by the way, Christianity is true.